Raider coming at you with another episode of Instant Noodle Recipe Time. This is the show where I show you what to do with your instant noodles, whether you like it or not. What do we got today? This one I found locally at 99 Ranch Market. Here's what the lid looks like. Here's what the packaging looked like. It's a single grain Chongqing noodles from China. And yeah, this is going to be the first of a 3-episode series where we do a deep dive into the mind of bad, just bad. So, friend of the show Matthew Bella has come out with a book with startling revelations. He was he corresponded. I don't want to say pen pal because that's a little too touchy feely. Like, hey, my pal. I don't think that's really where it was, but we'll ask him about that. But yeah, with a serial killer, like a psychopathic serial killer, and he's with us on the show today. He's got his new book in hand. The book is called Letters to Jet? Letters from Jet. Which is it?
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. The book is called Letters from Jet.
Oh, okay.
Jet was his nickname.
Okay, well, why don't you tell us about our subject person here?
Joseph Edward Duncan III was from Tacoma, Washington, and he displayed some behavioral issues in his youth regarding sexuality, and he committed a violent a sex crime with a firearm at the age of 17.
That doesn't sound comfortable.
Well, not for at least one person involved, right?
Yeah.
And then was sent into the sexual psychopath treatment program at Western State Hospital here in Washington State, and then was violated out of that program, and sent to prison for 17 years.
What was the program called?
I swear to God, it was called the Sexual Psychopath Treatment Program.
And he was too bad to be in that.
Okay, we'll go back into that later. Let me just finish off the metadata of his story. So he was violated out of that program. He was sent to prison for 17 years, where he was violently sexually assaulted and just completely snapped his psyche, became full-on. He was kind of bisexual before, but he became full-on homosexual in prison, became a prison hoe. When he got out, he decided he hated society, right? And started kidnapping and raping and murdering children.
Oh my God.
So yeah, let's if you want to take a minute and go back to the program. There's more to elaborate on there. That's just a crazy subject. That's a focus of this guy's story, I think.
Right. Right. Well, I'm adding a sachet of flavoring to the.
So yeah. What's the
Chongqing noodle? So it's like extra chewy. Yeah. But anyway.
Locally sourced, eh?
Found it at 99 Ranch Market.
Nice.
Not Ranch 99 Market. 99 Ranch Market.
I always get those mixed up.
Yeah, they're different places. No, actually, there's 99 Ranch Market, and then there isn't.
Oh, that's a real place? Oh.
No, there's just 99 Ranch Market.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I always get so confused.
It's a confusing thing. 5 to 6 minutes on the boil, and oh wow, I put 15. Let's do 6 minutes. All right, so we're good here. I've got a list of questions to ask you from your recent Ask Me Anything on Reddit yesterday. But if there's anything you want to mention before we get to that, please do.
Yeah, maybe just a little context. Let's go back to that program I was talking about, because that won't be covered in the questions. People weren't really incredibly familiar with this case. It is kind of unique, though. He became a sex offender at a time in Washington State when there was this thing called the Sexual Psychopath Treatment Program, and it was held at Western State Hospital here in Washington State, and it was a unique experimental model for the program. this is gonna sound crazy, but I mean the offenders counseled each other. Okay, so they had actually tiers of authority for other offenders in the program.
Okay.
And you be in there with somebody who raped 3 people, right? And then and then you or yourself or did something horrible like that. And this guy, because he's been there longer, is now like your authority figure and gets to tell you what to do and direct your treatment. Okay, so there was a guy there called Larry Hendricks, and he became a serial rapist. I think he killed some people, but he was killed by one of his victims when he was attempting to rape a GI from Fort Lewis. Okay, and so he was a counselor at this program.
Oh my God.
So here, let's double down on this. I was talking to Beach, is reading the book. For those of you who don't know, our friend Beach is a counselor. She's a WSW. She's the person cops go to when they kill people in the line of duty. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she could have cops committed. She's that down and dirty counselor who's seen it all. And she's a really great person. So, and she's highly qualified as well. Highly qualified. And so she's reading this, and she picked out the peaks of his psyche immediately. And just said, okay, he's doing this, he's doing that. And I'm like, yep. Yeah, and I see it a lot more clearly now that you're saying it as simply as that, but you're absolutely right, Beach. It was a very fascinating conversation we had about, she's only read like the first 40 pages because even she can't handle some of the material. It affects her deeply. So anyway, I turned her on to the sexual psychopath treatment program. She was like, yeah, right, that's not what it was called, right? And I was like, I sent her a bunch of links. And she was like, oh my God. She started, there was this paper. This program was like eradicated, forgotten, nothing useful. It was a disaster, right? And so this guy wrote a 353-page paper to like talk about it. He's like, I hope it never gets forgotten. Here's all the weird stuff that happened. And I was sending her paragraphs from that, and she just could not believe the model of the treatment program, the entire premise of it. To her as a professional counselor, she's like, this is wrong. And then she said, I'm so happy I was educated in California. I swear to God, dude. So, yeah, there was some weird stuff going on with sexual, sex offender treatment programs in Washington in the 70s, early 80s. We tried and we bungled some things. We still have McNeil Island here, which is like a haven for pedophiles, but it used to be a prison where Charles Manson was held briefly. But yeah, so Washington has a weird history with treating sex offenders, right? So this guy was sent to that program. It was horrible. He says one of the counselors tried to like get with his mom, went over to her house, and then when she rejected him, he was violated out of the program. So there's, like you said, he was too bad. He was too bad for even that program. There's a story behind it. The treatment was horrible. The counselors were corrupt, and it was unfair that he was probably violated out of the program. Where he was sent to prison, where all this horrific stuff happened to him, which is why he came to hate society, which is why he killed people. Boom! There it is.
Well, I mean, he got in there in the first place. I mean, you can't blame the system for his initial.
Here's the deal. When you're a minor, he was like 15, 17. Okay, that's behavioral issues based on your family, your upbringing, and maybe something wrong with you mentally. You need treatment at that time, right? The right treatment could have saved that guy. He was put into the wrong program. You know what I mean? This weird, twisted program where counselors were judging the other, offenders were judging the other offenders as counselors. It was, and we've seen an external professional opinion about it from one of our friends who was a professional counselor, and she says it's the most convoluted thing she's ever seen, and she never practiced it. Yeah, so that was a bad idea.
Still, though, I mean, the guy got into that program through his own actions. You can blame it on all sorts of external stimuli, but the guy went and did some horrible stuff, and he got, I mean, I'm sorry, you get classified as a psychopathic sexual deviant. I'm guessing you got to do something to get that nomenclature.
He stole an unloaded gun from his neighbor's house. He knew it was unloaded, and he was 17, and then he brought a 15-year-old boy out to the woods and forced him to perform oral sex on him briefly, and then extinguished a cigarette on one of his butt cheeks, and then let him go.
Yeah, that's psychopathic sexual activity, I'd say.
Where do you learn that when you're a child, though?
I don't know. TV? Didn't you watch that show?
Or from your parents, from your family.
No, you could just be a freaking pervy kid. I mean, you don't have to learn. It's like I'm constantly noticing. It's like I'll see my kids pick up all sorts of weird stuff. Nothing like that. But you know, they're like, there's what they learn from us, and then there's their own spark.
Sure.
You know, so I mean, you can't blame it all on upbringing. There's so much
I'm not
involved.
blaming it all on upbringing. I did acknowledge that there might have been something wrong with them mentally from the beginning. So these are just the things we have to examine. This is what we have to look at, and we have to ask these questions.
Well, I don't like it.
Or else we'll just write off every person who commits a murder as a psychopath, and we'll never solve them and get anything done. I'm trying to figure out how to stop it.
Yeah.
So how's the noodles coming along?
Well, we need to start doing some questions if we're going to do questions for this series.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, let's do the first 3. The first one's going to be, and these are questions that were posed to Matt on his Reddit AMA, Ask Me Anything. So, first one here. How truthful was he? This is regarding the correspondence between Matt and the subject we're talking about. How truthful was this guy with what he wrote to you in letters?
I believe he was as truthful with me as he was with himself. If not more so, we've really developed a rapport, and I approached him from a position of, you know, respect and an absolute curiosity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And good intentions that were in line with his own sort of intentions, as to figuring out why this stuff happens. And he has an excellent perspective on his own psychology. And so when I first wrote to him, here's what I did. I said, here's who I am, here are my professional credentials,
Right.
and here's my views on criminal punishment in America. And so I piqued his interest, and very soon after that I started saying, okay, 3 letters in, I think I've earned your respect enough to really start asking you the tough stuff. And he said, no, dude, no, just ask me. You know, you don't have to earn my respect. I've decided to correspond with you. I'm going to tell you everything now.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, it's like you're a total stranger, and then after a little bit, you're getting like all the. That's weird. I mean, all he's got. What does he do when he's in there? Nothing. So I mean, there is that.
Write and read. Yeah, write and read and think about things.
Let's go with the second question. Do you find any traits that would stand out if you met a serial killer in passing? Are there any tells? So it's like, if you're like walking down the street and somebody hands you a pamphlet and go, oh hey, by the way, blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh wait, this guy's definitely a serial killer. I should mark that down. You know, is there anything like that?
So this is the question you just asked a lot, especially to people like me who study them, and the answer is not really. You and I have spoken about this personally. I remember taking a walk with you down by the bay one time, and we were talking about this guy, and I said, look, if I was a parent, if I had kids, I would want to be able to figure this stuff out too. So I understand the curiosity and the need for it. I also understand the detachment that people have who have children from this kind of material. So I understand that. You know what I mean? It's tough, right? But just to think about that stuff happening to your own kids. But if you don't want it to happen, figure out who they are. And the answer is that they could be walking all around us. I read an AMA with someone who went to school with him after he got out of prison. When he was in computer science class at a community college, right? I think it was in Idaho, or it was somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. And the guy said he was just, pretty much a normal guy, and he was committing murders at that time. Okay, he had a blog he had a blog, and he would post like during his time that he was committing murders, things that alluded to them, right? And that blog is still available on the Internet Archives. It's not live anymore. You have to do some searching, but the instructions and the pathway is in my book, actually. So he was the guy who was always early to class. He'd just be there reading a book, and he was on some teams with this guy when they were coming up with coding projects, and they were working on coding projects, and he said he didn't really contribute much. He wasn't that great of a coder. In his letters, he was like, I was a damn good coder. You know what I mean? But this guy was like, he was mediocre, and I had to go back and fix some of his stuff. And then I did that, and I noticed that he changed his name on the code from Joseph Duncan to Jet, right? And I was like, what is that? Oh, well, it's a hacker nickname or something, right? And so, so this guy had no idea. And even knowing everything that I know about him now, and having a much better sense of his personality, right, as I do, I can't say that if I met him in that period of time, I would have known anything myself.
Yeah. Well, I guess, people want to keep their cards close. I mean, you never know what's going in somebody's head. So, no reason to feel like you're going to have an anvil land on your head like in Wile E. Coyote every day going out. But, yeah, I guess it's something to think about. People are weird. Weird. Yeah.
True.
Well, I think we can only do 2 in this one. We did a lot of lead up, so we'll do some more questions in the next one. But this is a fancy noodle, folks. Fancy.
I wish I could see it.
Yeah, you will. You will see it. It will see you. We're going to let the rotato action take hold right now. And, one moment. Gonna hold up a copy of your book, man, but I don't know where it went. I really have one. I'll see if I can find it in between episodes. I think my wife may have taken away with it. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You can just throw up a splash page of the cover, like during that scene or something, maybe. Oh no, that was. Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the show right now. During that scene, talking about post formatting. We're on the show. Hi, Miles.
Was that the noodle rotation scene? Is it on the plate right now?
Scene?
Was that the noodle rotation scene?
You're talking behind the scenes stuff right now. We're on the show. The show is recording right now.
Yeah, I wish I could see it. I was wondering if the music denoted that the noodles were spinning.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
It is.
It's my favorite part of the whole show.
Where can we get your book?
Amazon, paperback and ebook. Just
look up Letters from Jet.
Yeah, under the books section of Amazon.
Right.
If you search it, So, Letters from Jet, man.
Go. Out of the kitchen. All right. Well, we will come and hear more from Mr. Bella tomorrow. We're going to have him as a special guest for the next 2 episodes as well. Detailing his experiences corresponding with the serial killer and his new book, Letters from Jet. We've got this one coming up tomorrow. This is a goose oil with Szechuan pepper and hot chili variety from Taiwan by Kung Fu Noodle. See you tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace.